Position,
Sir,
student creed. I develop myself physically and mentally based on the Battlefied Karate Spirit.
Karate spirit. I will only fight to protect my life and the lives of others. I achieve my fullest potential about knowledge, honesty, and strength.
Good job, Miss Murray. You've been leading us all. And ladder prop position. Yeah, I got you. Some of you did it. Never gets old. Go ahead and grab your jump rope, please.
Wait, you did it?
All right. 1 minute. If you don't have a jump rope or you don't have room for it, then you guys are just gonna do the make believe jump rope. Again, you need to keep your pace consistent with what your normal pace was. Don't embellish what your skills are. Okay. 1 minute. Ready and go. What you can do, because I don't need help for this class, is record yourself doing good touch, bad touch, no secrets, and playground moves, and then send those to me. Good news is water is good for your body. Bad news is I didn't actually start a timer, so I don't know how long you've been going. So when I feel like you guys look tired enough, then I'll stop you. And time. All right. We're going to do that one more time. You guys have 30 seconds, or what feels like 30 seconds to me. We're on a planet that spins really fast, so 30 seconds just happen like that. Go ahead and start again. And time. All right. So this is going to be a continuation from last week. Long story short, a lot of this is theory work. So just like if you were a scientist or you were doing some traditional art, when I say traditional art, I mean like painting or watercolor or music, and you think a sound or a painting style or what have you is going to look really good or going to sound really good, and you're like in your head, you're like, oh yeah, and then you go to play the actual chords and it's like, you're like, ooh, that didn't work like I thought it would. That's what you're doing without application, and that's super important for you guys to remember and realize. Sparring is important because without it, your martial arts doesn't really mean anything. You can think that these moves work all day and night, but until you put them to the test, the pressure test of having somebody resist you, having somebody actually grab you, having somebody actually fight you, it all is make-believe until you know that it works on a person. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is going to be building theories for the opportunity when we get to actually punch and kick each other, other human beings. If you guys have siblings like my alcalas, you guys can spar each other within reason. Obviously, not as hard as you would with pads on because you don't have any, but you can still practice the same movements. The thing you in particular need to remember is after a while, just like anybody else, you're going to get used to that person. So it might seem like you got better at sparring, but really you just got better at sparring your sister. You didn't necessarily grow as in general. Last week we covered footwork. The main thing, so that I'm not taking a whole bunch of time for those that were here last week, you need to find a footwork that makes sense to you. So long as it has a purpose, then I don't really care what you're doing. So when I say on your toes for here on out, whenever you're doing a class with me, I don't mean that you literally have to be doing this the whole time. I mean that whatever your active state footwork is going to be for how you spar, that's what you need to do. And I won't have any qualms about it so long as it serves a purpose. Meaning, if you're flat-footed and you're doing like a little jolly step, but it serves a purpose because you're here and you're going off of counter movements, side counters and circle counters, cool beans. I don't care. But if I'm watching you and it doesn't really look like you're doing anything, and I go, okay, well, and I unmute you and I ask you, all right, why are you doing your footwork like that? And your answer is, it has no purpose, then you can't do it, okay? So what I need you guys to do to get warmed up is you're going to spend, I'm going to interject some cardio stuff in there to destroy your minds and bodies as well tonight, so be aware of that. Interjected in between the footwork is that's what's going to happen. So what I need you guys to do first, I'm going to say a minute now just so I can get a good look. I just wanted you to be moving around. So for example, if this is my footwork, then I'm just going to be moving around as if I have an opponent right there. And again, it needs to be realistic. So I'm here. I'll be watching them as they move around. Maybe they're here. I switch my feet up depending on the direction they've gone. And I'm just going to move. Maybe you want to throw a couple of techniques out here and there. I don't really care as long as you're active, meaning it has a purpose, and the techniques have a purpose as well, meaning I shouldn't see it just you're looking over here and don't do none of that. Okay? Make it happen. Go. 1 minute. As you guys are moving around, just listen to my voice. You need to be thinking about how your footwork complements the attacks that you regularly do. So if I regularly use hands, for instance, then I'm going to take a more angled footwork position or footwork placement so that when I come in, I've got both hands ready. I don't have to cover a wider distance. If I'm going sideways, that means this is a mainly kicking stance. Because my backhand is all the way behind me, it'll take twice as long to do a punch. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to go sideways if I know that I do a lot of punches. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So if you're in your footwork position and you try to throw your normal moves and it seems harder, that means you've got to change the footwork that you're using. About another 20 seconds. And time. first thing you guys are going to do is jump squats. So, I'm actually, for this first one, we're going to do drop squats. So those are just the quick ones. Hands out, hop back up. So you can either have your feet spread apart, and come back in, or you can just drop and give yourself a little hop. I don't really care. 30 seconds worth, ready and go. Make sure you're moving the whole 30 seconds or I'll restart the time. And the adage tonight will hold true. I don't care if you slow down as long as you don't quit. And time. Okay, now with your footwork, I'm going to do a quick run through so that everybody has an idea, or hopefully you have a better idea. If I'm punching a lot, then I need to be more angled. Not completely because, well, you can go completely. Just remember there's pros and cons to everything. So if I know I'm just going to use my hands, then I'll go all the way forward. And that means I have to be really wary of kicks in this region. If I'm going to do hands and feet, I want to be at an angle. So my hand doesn't have to cover twice as much space, but I can still pick my legs up and use them. If I know that I'm doing a whole bunch of kicks, then I'm going to go sideways. Because my main weapon is going to be my leg, I need it as close as I can to the front to be able to use it. With that in mind, now you guys are going to run through 1 move, 2 move, and 3 move combos. 4 and 5 really, for unless you're sparring somebody really bad, getting 4 or 5 moves off is a prayer. So stick with 1, 2, and 3 move combo sets. What am I going to do as my opening shot? What am I going to do as my 2 move hit? What am I doing as 3? Don't worry about angles for right now. I want these to be linear, meaning straight on. Just sit there using your footwork. Snap out your 1 technique, and then your 2-hand technique, then your 3 technique, whatever it is. Ready and go. Don't look at the camera. Camera's there for me to see you. It's Miss Akala from just watching the older one. You're doing a lot of mix, but you don't have a mixed stance. So your back punches are going to be really slow. So like right now you're set here and you're having the hard twerk here for that punch. Take your hips, so I don't know if you can see the line I'm on, but imagine a line. Take that line that you're on and then just cut it at a 45 like this, and then have that, and then turn your toes towards your target, and then have that be your stance. So you can still whip your leg in, but then you're not having to cover this gap for the punch. As you can see at this 45, my hand's already here, so when I kick, it comes straight out rather than having to come all the way from the back. Food for thought. And time. All right, your next one is push-up rows. So you guys are going to be here. You're going to do a push-up, and you're going to want to take a wide stance. A wide stance. Push-up, row your arm up. Push-up, row the other one. So it's 1, 2. So push-up rows, ready and go. 30 seconds worth. And again, you want a wide stance, otherwise, as you shift your weight, you're going to start tumbling over. And try to keep your shoulders square to the ground. Or I should say parallel. And time. Hop up. Next thing I need to see from your combos is the combos make sense. So not just randomly throwing moves, meaning that I'm here, my imaginary opponent, I'm moving around, their hand opens straight down the middle. I'm going for the face mask. They're moving around again. I go underneath. And again, I want to go for somebody in theory, my height. If you guys want to change up the heights, cool beans. You can do that. It's not bad work. Just remember, you've got to be accurate. So if I say I'm this tall and I know I'm fighting somebody like Mr. Goforth, that means my head's here now and my body's straight out. If I'm fighting somebody smaller, and this is just, if you're fighting somebody smaller, unless you're trying to get them to work their body, you should never be trying to hit body shots on somebody that's shorter than you. You're just going for the head because it's the easiest target. Unless you're specifically dipping down, trying to be like, uh-oh, you got to protect your body too. So just keep that in mind. As you move up, you need to be more careful about what you're exposing because the same thing, if I'm fighting somebody that's just tall and I go here now to get the punch, that's super exposed as opposed to somebody that's the same height as me. So I want to be thinking then about punching off angle rather than straight on and just taking something in my ribs. So as I'm going up, I got to be careful as I go down. I don't need to go any lower than that opponent's head. So once you've reached an opponent that's belly lower, all your techniques are head techniques, okay? So now let me see combos that make sense and flow one after the other. So a back fist front kick doesn't really make any sense because we can't front kick the same way that a kickboxer or a Muay Thai person would. But overhand back fist back ridge, now that one makes a little bit more sense. 1 minute, ready and go. 1 second, Maddie. Yes, sir.
Can I go to the bathroom?
You don't have to ask me to go to the bathroom in your own house. Just go and come back.
Yes, sir.
And time. Okay, now I just want to see side, side, switch, side, side, switch, side, side, switch. Ready and go. Switch, side, side. And time. All right, I need you guys to go get your pen and paper really fast and come back. All right. If you have not done this already, you're going to do it now. You guys are going to write down 3 goals: martial arts goal, school goal, or education, I'd say, and personal. So, martial arts one should be easy. It's your next major rank. Obviously, every rank is important, but we're talking about the milestone ranks: first degree, second degree, third degree. If you have any sub goal to that, then you should add that under your black belt one. So if you're not already in the splits, but you want to be in the splits, add that to the black belt one. For those of you still in school, your school goal is either being consistent with what your grades already are, if they're pretty up there, or it's looking at a next step, because a lot of you guys are starting to get into high school. Some of you, most of you already are in high school. So if your grades are already killer, then your next step for your education-wise would be, if your intent is on going to college, what college am I going to go to? What am I majoring in? What are my plans for that major? If you know this stuff now, you don't have to try and figure it out. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to take a bunch of classes. If you already have this plan set in stone, then it's a lot easier to follow through. If you're not in school, education is education. You should still be learning stuff. So this could be in terms of helping your knowledge. So maybe it's a new philosophy that you want to learn, or maybe it's a new language. You don't know a language. Something that's going to continue you learning. Learning is super important. And then personal goal is something that may inadvertently be beneficial to somebody else, but is mainly for you. So, for example, I have one of my goals is learning Spanish and Japanese. Really, that's just for me because I like them as languages, but if it helps out somewhere else, cool beans. Or maybe it's I want to learn how to play piano. And yeah, sure, maybe somebody would like to hear me play the piano, but it's mainly for me. So personal goal is personal. It's just for you. Get those written down, ready and go. Once you have them written down, just put your hands behind your back or something so I know you have them written down. Some of you have done these last week, some of you did not. Okay, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. Don't put your notebooks down. You still need those. I was just saying hands on your back so that I know you're ready. Okay, I'm going to give the next step. So our sentence this week was talking about focusing on your desire, not your fear, or what you want, not what you're afraid of, and remembering that daily struggles aren't as meaningful as the end result. So what I need you guys to do now, part 1, is you're going to write down what's the end result for those goals. What's the thing that you're going to get out of it? In as much or as few words as you feel necessary. So I will be this next rank, and I should look like this and feel like this and do these things. That's what I mean. When I finish my school, say for those education ones, I'm going to have this GPA, and this GPA is going to allow me to apply to any college I want to. Blah, 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 blah. And the personal one doesn't really have to be that. However meaningful or not it is to you, doesn't really matter. So if, say, you just really want to learn piano because, like, heck yeah, man, piano, then that's all you got to write. Heck yeah, man, I'll know how to play the piano. That's so dope. But if it has something deeper, you shouldn't be afraid of admitting, like, I really love the sound of the piano. I love its ability to make songs happy or sad and everything in between. And I really enjoy the relaxation of being able to play whatever. However important or not it is on the last one, doesn't really matter. Just write those importances down as your step 1. I'm going to give you step 2 as soon as I see everybody's ready. I'm going to give you guys about 30 more seconds. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, so daily disappointment and struggles. There's a reason why martial arts, and I mean like combat, not necessarily traditional stuff. I mean like the actual combat of martial arts and things like philosophy. Well, at least if they knew what they were doing, there's a reason why those two things seem to intertwine with each other. Okay, the same principles that I would apply to a fight or a combat or a skirmish or a battle seem to seamlessly apply to life as well. So the best way to beat my opponent is to know the things that they're going to do. If I go into a match and I know this person does this kind of punch here and they do these kind of kicks, and when they're tired I see them do this, and I know all this stuff and I already have a plan to combat it all, then there's no way I could lose that match unless my leg explodes. The same thing applies to your goals. If you already know what is going to be difficult and how you're going to overcome it, then once you reach there, it's not like a crisis where you're going, I have no idea what to do. You've already planned it out. You've already done the work beforehand to make sure that you're ready when those obstacles arise. So what you guys are going to do for part 2, you're going to write down. You can add in minor obstacles later if you'd like, but I want you to write down the major obstacles to you getting that goal. This is going to require some introspection, and it's going to require some honesty, because you need to be realistic about what can happen. And when I say realistic, I don't necessarily mean fatalistic, as in like my black belt goal is 6th degree, my major thing, I could die. Well, yeah, anybody could die any day at any point. That's not really something we can control. I mean things like I could move out of the state. I know I want to go to this college, so that means I'm going to have to go to a different state. I don't know how I'm going to take class in order to keep up with blah, 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 blah. So the major obstacles that you foresee coming in between you and that goal, and at least one way to overcome it. And I mean realistic, grounded overcome, not, oh, I won't want to, it's going to be really hard. I'll push through it. Well, obviously, that's the easiest thing that you can do in theory, is push through it. But what exactly are you going to do when it happens? That's what I mean. So the major obstacle, and at least one thing that you're going to do to overcome said obstacle. Ready and go. If you're young and you're like, I don't know how to answer some of these questions, you know who could definitely help you? Your parents, because they've lived longer than you and they've maybe not had the same exact path, but conflict and struggle is conflict and struggle. Just because it has a different wrapping doesn't mean the inside of it is any different. I wouldn't take for granted the advice that some of your parents can give you on what they did when they met a similar circumstance, or they met something that was difficult. And you're either going to learn what to do from them, or you're going to hear what they say and be like, I don't think I could do it that way, so you'll learn what not to do. Either way, you're learning. Okay, now when you guys are done, you can set your notebooks off to the side. You will need them for the leadership portion of class, but you don't need them in your hands anymore. Okay, the main thing I see with your sparring that you guys really need to emphasize is intent and purpose. When I say purpose, I mean the highest level Dragon Ball Z anime fighting that you can do to the point where you're dead by the end of it. And now, whether you're defensive or not doesn't change that you have to be the first one to hit the other person. So you guys are going to have several rounds, and I'm going to give you a seemingly impossible number to hit and the amount of time to hit it, and then you're going to try and do it. So stand up. So you're going to pick your major move, your number one move, your number one draft pick that you use every time you get a chance to use it. You're going to have 1 minute to throw that move 100 times. Get ready. So that means that you need to throw that move at least twice every second, and then some. Get ready, get set, and go. Okay, pause. I already see you doing it the way. That's very static. I need it thrown like it's a sparring match. So, meaning that if I'm throwing 100 punches, I'm here. I'm throwing it as if that's my only move that I can throw, and my partner is still moving, and I'm tracking them. And so I'm snapping it as they move around me. Nobody's just going to stand there and let you hit them 100 times, right? That doesn't work that way. So your goal is to try and get as close to it. Again, this is a goal of impossibilities because perfection is impossible. But the pursuit of it gets you really darn close to being an awesome human being. I am not expecting you to get to 100. I am expecting you to make the effort to. And to do so with the purpose of, can I still throw my punch after that 25th one that I've thrown as fast and as hard as I can, and I'm dead tired? What does my technique turn into? Do I have the discipline to maintain that punch as I keep moving around and I'm snapping it out, so on and so forth, okay? So I'm not expecting you to get to 100. I'm expecting you to make the effort. The effort is more important than reaching the goal for right now. Get ready. Get set. Go. They're moving around. You got to stay up with them. For those of you guys doing kicks, double kicks can count towards your goal. So you can do two sides and count that as two separate kicks because of the nature of what the kick is. You don't have to necessarily go, 1, 2. As you guys are moving, think about how many seconds have passed since you threw a move. Are you adequately filling as much space as you can with offensive movement, or are you getting gassed and going, I can't throw anymore? Ten seconds. Figure out what your hands are doing as you're getting tired. Am I keeping my hands up where they're supposed to be, or am I getting lax on other areas and time? All right, you guys are going to have 30 seconds while I explain this, and then we're bumping up to 2 moves. 2 moves I will count as either your number 1 draft and your number 2 draft pick, or your number 1 draft plus a block. That'll be totally up to you. Just make sure that the block makes sense to what you're doing. So I'm either sitting here and I'm moving around, and every chance I get, I'm throwing those 2 punches, or I'm thinking about how my block is going to work the actual technique. So I might be here, block, and I blocked over and punched. Or I might be counter blocking and coming underneath with that technique. What have you. Okay, get ready. Go. 100. 100. If you're using a leg technique, that doesn't mean you can't use your hands to set it up, and so vice versa. Maudie, you're not moving. Again, guys, the effort is what I'm looking for. If you're not gassed, if you're not tired by the end of this, it's not because you have killer stamina. It's because you didn't try as hard as you could have. That's what 100% effort is. That's what 110, 120, 160. That stuff doesn't make any sense. 100% effort needs to be met first before we talk about going over the limit. If you can give 100% effort, that means you moved as fast, you punched as hard, you filled as much space as you could in that time and time. Okay, now you're at 3. It's probably be your hardest one. The only gap should be from the end of your first 3 to the start of your second 3. That should be where the only gap is in your movement. So as I'm here, if I'm strictly hands, then I should 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I have my legs added in there, for those of you guys who are kicking, you need to have your kicks purposely thrown to set up your hands. Meaning I'm here, 1, 2, things like that. It can't be, I did a kick, and then I had a pause, and then my hand showed up, then that didn't have a purpose. Unless we're talking about defense, but we're not on defense right now, we're on offense. Okay, get ready. Go. Fill the space, fill the space. Don't think about throwing the move, just throw the move. "30 seconds left." You're not going to get a break, just so you guys know. Ready on time. All right, this next one is stationary. You're just in place. I'm going to say go. And you're going to throw as many punches out as you can for the next 30 seconds. Ready and go. 30 seconds. Blow. Go, 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 go. Go. All the way out. All the way out. Your body, you shouldn't just be standing stationary. You need to be twisting your hips. That's the proper way to throw a punch. To your head, not your body. Go, 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 go. Keep punching. You're not dead yet. You can take a break when you're dead. Ten seconds. Get ready. You're going to do kicks next. And time. Either your left leg or your right leg, whichever one you start kicking first. You're going to do ups, just like we would do on a pad. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Just up and down with that kick. Ready, set, go. Go. Kick. These should be head level or waist level or alternating, but it should not be underneath. Not switching legs, Miss Murray. One side, one side. You can change your kicks up if you want, so long as you're kicking. And switch legs. Other leg now. Go. Go, 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 go. Fill the space, fill the space, fill the space. And time. Okay. Keep practicing what you covered earlier this week. And that's it. Hands on your back. Black Belt Creed. As a dedicated student of the martial arts, I live my life by the principles of Black Belt: modesty, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and dominant spirit. Latin proposition. Sorry, Mile High Karate is best. Asa. I need you guys to get your notebooks and pens back, please. And No more music. I do not think I did this with everybody last week. So I'm going to recap. If you don't have this, then just write it down. We're going to sort of redefine our emotional bank account. So write down emotional bank account. You don't have to draw the piggy bank if you don't want. From there, we talked about 3 kinds of currency. Visual currency, something that the student sees. Verbal currency, something that they hear. Physical currency, something that they feel. And I mean as in touch, not as in like, oh, warm and fuzzy. So visual currency. If you guys have ever been teaching a class, or if you think back to any tournament that you've ever helped with, I'm sure at least every one of us at one point in time has had somebody in our ring, and that kid was sitting there, looked around for their parents, saw their parents, and went like this, and their parents looked back and went. That's visual currency. That's the same thing you guys can do on the mat. The example that I gave today for level 3 was when they're in the middle of Exodus and the music is playing and they're trying to stay on beat with their team. That is not the time for me to come up, hey, you're doing a really good job with because their instinct is they know they're supposed to listen to you, but at the same time they're supposed to be doing their form. So they can't be doing both of those things at the same time. So me as the teacher or mentor or whatever that role is, I have to know that. And it could be something as simple as I happen to be in front of them right then and there when they do an awesome side kick, and I go, oh yeah, without even saying anything, just a double thumbs up or whatever your visual cue is that they did something great. That can be enough for them to see that you have noticed them and for you to make that emotional bank account deposit. So write down several examples of visual currencies, write down several examples of visual currency. Head nod, thumbs up, oh yeah, whatever. Take 30 seconds, go. All right, up next is your verbal currency, things that are said. These are how we've already covered probably at length. Any kind of, hey, that was great. Hey, that's awesome. What have you? Those are really generic examples. The main thing is that these are genuine and that they're not overused, or they're not cliche. Meaning, that's awesome, obviously. Awesome, awesome. Not everything is awesome. You should be very careful with your words. In general, whether it's in here or outside of here, you guys should understand the importance and the significance of how powerful words can be when used poorly or correctly. So with our verbal currency, we want to be thinking about ways that we can praise somebody with our words when it's appropriate. The main thing you guys have to separate is one-on-one, so you can write that down, one-on-one and class. One-on-one and in class. One-on-one, I can say a whole lot more than I normally would in a classroom setting. One-on-one, I can, when we talk about specific praise, that's when specific praises should just be rolling off of your tongue because you're only working with one person. Everything that they're doing is specific to what they're doing well with. In a classroom setting, like again, the example of Exodus, you don't have time to spend 5 minutes, 2 minutes, even 30 seconds is too long to be talking to a student when you think about the flow of the class. They start, they bow in, they're already in an exercise. In their exercise, the instructor's probably talking to them. Then they huddle up for a talk. You can't talk to them there. Then, if it's the first 4 weeks, they're learning the form. So if they're in the middle of learning the form, they can't be sitting there looking at the instructor teach them the next move up there while you're also in front of them trying to tell them what they're doing. That's too much going on. So you have to be when they're, so these are the points that I need you to write down so you can keep in mind when the world is back to normal or semi-normal or whatever, when you're back in here. Individual learning. That means that the instructor is just counting them out now. So they're not teaching anymore. They're going, all right, first move, second move, third move. This is a time when it's okay to be making verbal deposits into the bank. During an exercise, so in those beginning exercises after instructions have been given, when you're walking around and you're watching somebody do some killer jumping jacks, that's the time to let them know they're doing killer jumping jacks. If they're doing partner drills, you see, and again, this goes for both partners. If one partner is doing a really good job with the technique, that's a good time to let them know. If one partner is being a really good coach, that's a great time to let them know. And the last one is end of class drills. Not during the explanation of said drill, but while it's happening, depending on what the drill is. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to give praise during Noodle Wars, but for any of the other line drills or things like that, that's an excellent time to be giving those verbal deposits. Last one is your physical. These are your quick person-to-person contact. High fives. It's a bit of an antiquated idea right now, but yes, high fives, fist bumps. Anything else after that is really up to the person and the context of your connection. By that, I mean for one person, so high fives and fist bumps are pretty general. They're universal. You can give anybody a high five, anybody a fist bump, and it's a standard thing. But what are other ways to build connection with that physical touch? This isn't just when praising is happening. These are the small moments in between all of it. So the example that I gave last week was when Mr. Churchma Sr. is choking Ethan Churchma. That's a form of physical currency being deposited. He's not walking around putting everybody in the headlock, but that bond right there, I can imagine, and if you can imagine with me, if Mr. Churchman were to suddenly stop all of the headlocks and everything, and he never did it again, while Mr. Churchman, the younger, might say that, oh, thank goodness, there's going to be a part where he goes like, why isn't that happening anymore? Did I do something wrong? Is he mad at me? This is what normally happens. Now it's not happening anymore. So those are other ways that you guys can be making those, again, depending on the connection that you have with said student. A good example, Mr. Conley gets picked up by me and back broken. That's a form of physical currency being deposited. If I were to completely stop, you can bet he'd be like, what's going on? Why aren't you? The main part that you have to keep in mind on those is you have to know the person that's happening with. And again, everything, the main number one, it has to be genuine. Write it down. It has to be genuine. If it feels fake to you, it'll probably feel fake to them. If you're doing it and it's fake, it's not right. You shouldn't be faking the funk. In this in this instance. And you guys will have to walk the fine line of, well, I can only speak from my perspective. Personally, I don't like faking anything. If I don't feel it when it comes to with the student, like if you really didn't do something that impressed me, I'm not going to pretend like I'm super impressed, because when you're not being genuine, it's really easy to read through. So you guys need to really make sure that on that instance, you have to be genuine to who you are. On the other instance, and it's really not faking it, I wouldn't say that it is, at least. If we go to an instance where a student is looking shaky, and you say testing, because testing is coming up next week, they're looking shaky, and because they're looking shaky, they come up to you, how do you think I'm going to do on the test? If in your head and in your heart, there's not some part of you that's like, you could probably do it if you just practice a little bit more. I definitely think you can do it. If there's any part of you that's like, nah, you're probably going to fail, and you've completely given up, then you're not going to be a good teacher, and we really don't need you on the floor. If you don't have that in you, where that undimmed optimism towards the students, in that you believe in all of them 100%, at least in some fashion, 100%, meaning that you might see that, oh, logically, you haven't been doing this, you're missing this, and you're missing that. These are reasons that could stop you. That's the logic side. But then you should be sitting there like, yeah, but if you did the work, you could definitely pass. There should never be a part of you that goes, nah, you're probably not going to pass, so I'm not going to give any effort. If you ever reach that point, you got to step off the floor. You got to not assist that day. You got to be honest with yourselves, because you're not going to be you're not doing anybody's favor pretending to feel that way if you don't, because it can be read through very easily. What I need you guys to do for your homework is to come up with some quick for yourself. I'm not going to check these. I know that can diminish the reason for doing it, but I'm expecting that your discipline will replace motivation, because your motivation isn't required to be disciplined. What are some visual cues, visual things that you can do with students that are uniquely you? What are some verbal things that you can say that are uniquely you? What are some physical things that you can do that are uniquely you? Now again, with early students, obviously when you don't know them, everything is going to be very generic, because you're not used to how that person is. But as you guys get comfortable with them and you learn how they are as students, then you can change your approach to them. Like how we always joke about throwing Mr. Singh under the bus. Things like that. All right, let's go ahead and stand up. You guys are finished for the night. Come to attention. Bow courtesy. Au revoir. If you have any questions, raise your hand. I'll get to them. Otherwise, I am going to end the meeting. Deuces. P2, A-Town down. You guys are still lingering. Do you have questions? Oh, Miss Murray, the last one. Oh, bye.